Good afternoon. Welcome to this special edition of Urban Facts. I just love you guys to death. So, what we will be talking about today, and my co host isn't here, she didn't know I was doing this, is the following: what to do when my teen is angry. So, let's look at that. So, I believe the first thing that you have to do in regards to, how to interact with anger is that you have to know what it is. So it can't be like an assumption or, I've been angry before, or, my oldest was angry, so it's the same with them. So it don't work like that. So the definition of anger, and you can look this up on your own time: the feeling or showing strong annoyance, displeasure, or hostility in somebody's emotion, their interaction, their actions. Let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Eamon Hotep Parker. I am the CEO of the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation, where we promote culture and education in the inner city, especially among youth, so that opportunities can be taken advantage of, so a successful future can come to fruition. So that's who I am. So, what you do when your teen is angry, we just looked at the definition. So, excuse me, the first thing that you want to do when you're trying to resolve this situation, as a parent, is that you can't be angry yourself. So you have to be calm in the situation to know how to combat anger. Because if both of y'all are angry, nobody's really listening or, diving into like what's happening. And you got to take into account that they're a teenager. So as a teenager, their feelings are more likely like all over the place. Because that's just how it is as a teenager. They don't really have like a grip on feelings. They might be in a relationship and, they might be going all over the place because, so and so left them or whatever like that. You got to, as a parent, you got to know how to combat these emotions. So the first thing you want to do is, like I said, not be angry yourself, because that's definitely not going to work out. The second thing, you have to find out why your teen is angry. So that's why it's not good to, be all over the place with your teen when you're trying to figure out what the situation is that's going on with them, to try to solve the situation. So I went on this parentingmontana.com. It's guidance for discipline, for skills. And they talk about, parenting skills and how to handle teenagers. So we're going to look at that here. So, excuse me. So the first thing you got to consider is that your teen, like I just said, their feelings are going to be all over the place. So you have to teach them skills in regards to how to handle their anger. So now learning how to understand your own feelings and behaviors when your teen's behaviors on a parent is a great way to start off to help you understand and for them to learn what to do. So you got to ask yourself, do I get angry when they do certain stuff? So, you ask yourself, well, do I get angry when they go in the kitchen and the refrigerator and just go inside of the, to get something to eat? Now, you can't reply and say, get out the refrigerator because I know you're not hungry. It's nowhere in the world you know that. They could have just eaten and still been hungry, because things happen. So if you think that, then that's not a wise choice that you make, because they could just very well be hungry. So now what you're doing is, excuse me, I'm sorry, you putting your child down. Or especially if you say, don't go in that kitchen, you too fat anyway. That's definitely an insult, and you definitely don't want to say that. So doing things like that will prevent your child from wanting to come to you in moments of anger. So don't do that. So here's something else you want to look at. Mm-hmm. How do I respond to my own anger? This is key, because if you already mad, it's not going to really help if you trying to resolve a situation with your child, because you're already angry. So you're not going to be able to really help and see, what's going on with little Frankie or little Joey or little whoever. So you don't want to do that. And you the parent. So this is a job, just like your real job. I mean, it's a real job, but just like your other job, where they paying you at. So you can't go to the IRS building and cuss everybody out because the kids ain't cleaning up the house. Because then you're going to have a problem there. You got to go in with professionalism and act like that your day was just great, despite the fact that your house is a mess. And that's the same thing you got to do with parenting. You can't go in on these kids when they already upset and you mad for whatever reason, because you're not going to get to the bottom of the subject. I mean, you're not going to get to the bottom of what's happening. So you have to control your anger. So, maybe it's not a good time for you to address the situation until you calm down. So you might want to, take a time out yourself and, let your kid know, well, hey, I noticed something's wrong with you and we're going to talk about it later on. And you got to do that. Whatever you tell your kids you're going to do, you got to do. But if you can't, you got to explain why. It ain't just because we ain't, or because I ain't felt like it. Don't do that. That's horrible. The other thing, how do I want my team to respond when they feel angry? Well, that's going to depend on the relationship. If you and your team, now, I ain't talking about 12, but you should have a good relationship with your child at any age. If you and your team have a rocky relationship, you may not really be able to address the issue with them because they might have some feelings against you from a previous situation. So you definitely want to try to get that resolved, and the relationship too. You and your child got a bad relationship. You got to fix that. So you can't go in and try to tell them how they should feel if they already feel some type of way towards you. And the way you want them to feel is, you want them to feel calm and like they can come to you for anything, opposed to one of their friends, because their friends ain't got no clue how to help them. And don't let your child seek their help from their friends, because they could be going through the same thing. So learning your teen's developmental milestones can help you have reasonable expectations. So 15-year-olds may feel sensitive to criticism, like I said, don't be calling them fat because they're going into the kitchen, or preoccupied with peer impressions. So, if little Mikey got the new Jordans and your son don't, they might be teasing them. Now, I ain't saying you need to go out and buy some Jordans. I mean, if that might help the situation. But your child should have a sense of self-worth to not be so offended by, somebody else's actions. So conflicts may arise if the teen feels failure in front of you. Now, that would be when you call them fat. And I know you may be, kind of jokingly, but that's not funny to them. Because if you fat, you don't want nobody calling you fat. Joke or not. So they may feel pressure in front of, failure about the pressure. Pressure from the failure in front of you, peers or teens. Now, 16-year-olds, they may feel more confident that they have new goals outside of school. So that may be, they may have a summer job. You might have gave them some extra responsibilities around the house, things like that. Now, they might be tempted to stay up late studying or socializing, but the lack of sleep challenges their self-control and ability to manage anger and anxiety in healthy ways. So this is important. I would say if you got teenagers, now this depends on your household. If it's a weekday, if you sleep, they should be sleeping. Because they got to get up, go to school, things like that. Now, some parents on the weekends, they're like, well, hey, I'll let my child stay up. But it has to be a limit to that too. You can't let Johnny stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and then he decide to go to sleep at 4:30 and then he's sleeping half of the next day. Because it's still things that he may have to do inside of the house. But now if you decide to wake him up, he might be cranky or whatever, and he's still going to get up. He should still get up. But it's your fault that he stayed up that late because you didn't set any boundaries. You know what I mean? You can't get mad at him because you said, well, I let you stay up late to 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you try to wake him up the next day, and the boy can't even open his eyes wide. That's your fault. You can't let him do that. Now, you got to set a time like, hey, I'll let you stay up till 12, till daybreak, 12 a.m. And even for some parents, that may be a stretch. But, in your household, you got to set the rules how you want it to do. But then you as a parent have to know if these rules will apply. Just because that might have worked for you, that might not work for them. This is a whole different clan of teenagers. Excuse me. Now, 17-year-olds may feel highly focused on their academics and life goals and stress about adult choices ahead. Now, that's very true. Now, the adult choices ahead, to me, you have to earn the title of adult. Because I'm 48, it's people my age, a little younger than me, and older than me that don't fit this category as being an adult. So you got to be careful with that. How you put that label on somebody. So conflicts may arise with you when they assert their independence but also feel fragile, vulnerable, scared of their future adult lives. As a parent, some parents let that child figure it out on their own. You can't do that. Like I said, this is a job. It's not just a title that you have and you just watching this person develop or grow. You're not watching a plant. You're developing a child. So if, I don't know, let's just say this thing right here is a plant. It's actually a battery pack. So all I got to do is water this, give it plant food, put it in sunlight, and hope, because it ain't guaranteed that's going to happen, that it's going to develop into the plant that I need it to be. You can't do that with kids. You can't just put clothes on their back, feed them, let them play, make sure they go to school, and they're going to turn out. No, it don't work like that. You're supposed to do that because that's just the basics. You know what I mean? It's like brushing your teeth. If you just brush your teeth alone without the flossing, or you make dental appointments, then somewhere along the line, you might run into some problems, with oral hygiene. Same thing with kids. If you just doing the basics, somewhere along the line, you might run into a problem with the development of your child, because it takes more than just doing the basics. But that might be all you need. That might be all you know. So you got to ask yourself, challenge your own parenting. Am I a good parent? And some of y'all are not going to like what I'm saying. I've studied psychology. I got 3 daughters of my own. I've been a child, and it's rough. And I tell parents, hey, however you think parenting was, forget about it and start all over. Because the parenting that you came up under may be wrong, but you're not going to know until you find out what correct parenting is. So let's go to 18 and 19. So they're concerned about emerging to be adults. So let's stop right there. They're not adults. Here's the definition of adult, psychological definition of adult. An adult is somebody that is physically and cognitively mature. So physically mature is that every part of your body has been developed. Cognitively mature is that you know the difference between right and wrong. You know how to make wise decisions. You know how to take care of your responsibilities. You're a respectful person. You seeking to be better. Things like that. You have respect. You show respect for others. Things like that. So that's the the cognitive definition in regards to the maturity in that aspect. For teenagers, your average teenager is not cognitively mature, because sometimes they may not show respect towards other people because they don't really know how to, handle their emotions. So, they may do something to their sister or brother and they may think it's funny, but their sister or brother may not think it's funny. So they may get angry. But you have to find out what happened, opposed to just saying something dumb on your part and hollering at them or hollering at the other child. Hollering at anybody is not going to work. My kids myself said that they don't feel comfortable with me if I'm always hollering at them about things that they do. So, I had to check myself and, go from there, because I want them to be able to come to me in regards to, situations that they have. So you can't be hollering at them about situations. You have to come as an adult, as a parent, apply parenting and, resolve the situation. So at times they're going to want to exclude confidence, while other times they may feel highly insecure and run to you needing comfort and security. So let me read that again. I'm reading this from the guidance and disciplines for skill sets for teenagers. So it's parentingmontana.org/discipline. Excuse me. 18 and 19-year-olds. That's why you shouldn't be so fast to put them out. Are considering emerging to become adults. They're considering it. They're not excited about it. They're considering it. Now, you might be excited about it. That's why you shouldn't say, don't even worry about it because at 18, I'm putting you out. Like, you shouldn't say that. Stop saying that, because that's actually wrong to say to your kid. Because I just told you, they considering being an adult. They don't understand what that whole process is. Now, if you like, well, that's how my parents raised me, and I came out fine, then you're a fool. Because it's not going to work like that for everybody. And I'm not calling you, stupid. I'm saying you're a fool because that's a foolish action to have. That's like me eating coffee ice cream, and then I expect that my kids like it because we came from the same bloodline. I'd be a fool to think of something like that. I actually believe all my kids don't like coffee ice cream. So now, at times, they may want to exclude confidence, while other times they may feel highly insecure and run to you needing comfort and security. If you're going to put a person like that out, and sometimes they don't put them out. But what I mean by out is that you're going to throw them out into the world and be like, hey, you got to figure this out, then that's not a good idea. Because they're supposed to come to you for the comfort and security, but they're not doing that because they just, you just told them you got to figure it out. So the 19 to 18-year-old, their anger is going to be different because they may not feel as though that they can come back to you for the comfort and security that they need because you just told them that they have to figure it out. So conflicts may arise as you renegotiate your relationships with them. So, y'all going to have arguments because they trying to express their feelings. And even if you didn't tell them to figure it out, y'all still may have disagreements. Because now they're starting to develop more of their own identity. I took my oldest daughter out driving yesterday, and we leave in the practice area. So if you know me, I probably can't get around the corner without GPS. So I told her to turn left. She said, "No, Dad, we gotta go straight." I said, "No, the GPS." And before I could even finish, she done drove off the darn curb, hitting the bottom of my car, and I was pissed. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't fuss at her, but it wasn't like I lost my top or whatever like that. It was a little, probably like 10, 15-minute rant. She apologized. I accepted her apology, and then I had to go back to parenting. You can't just blow your top because they do something stupid. And they're going to do something stupid because you still doing stupid stuff. And you either 48, 50, whatever. It ain't a day that, and I don't care what kind of degree you got, doctorates, masters, you can have 10 of each. You still do stupid stuff. Or make mistakes because it was just a mistake she made. So I don't want to say it was something stupid. So now here's the key point here to trying to help them control their anger. Now, teaching is different than telling. Now, let's go back to the parking situation, the driving thing. Now, I told her that no, we gonna go left. Opposed to teaching her, giving the instruction that she needed on regards to how to do that. I mean, I was about to, but then she was fast. She made that mistake. So teaching basic skills grows problem-solving abilities. So this is one of the biggest ways that you can help your teenager overcome anger. You have to teach them basic skills for problem-solving abilities. Now, if you don't know that, then you have to find out. And as a parent, it should be a parent that's over you. Either it's your mom, and it has to be a good parent. So just because it's your mom, you got a mom, If she ain't good at parenting, then you can't use her. She might be a great person. She might suck at parenting. Dad too. I don't care how much money dad gave you, and you done bought you your first car for your 18th birthday. That's fine, but if he ain't good at parenting, then you can't go to him for this advice because he may tell you something wrong. And you're dealing with somebody's life here. Because if you can't teach your child the basic skills in regards to how to solve problems, they're going to try to figure it out on their own. So they may ask, Susie next door, who Pete and Michelle's parent. But she might not be a good parent. Pete and Michelle might be out of control. So they ask, Susie, and Susie give them horrible advice, and then they do a bad decision. But see, here's the thing with that. Susie doesn't have to deal with the decision. You do. So because of your lack of teaching your child how to solve problems, and it's not telling them one time, it's repeatedly. That's why it's called teaching. Like, you don't go into school, the teacher tell you that 2 times 4 is 8. Right, 2 times 4 is 8. I ain't good at math. I said psychology, not math. So it's not going to just be one time. The teacher ain't going to get up to the board, right? 2 times 4 equals 8, and then we move into 10 plus 2. It's not going to work like that. It's a repeated lesson. That's why they got this new math. They're going to break it down. They're going to show it to you. This is why 2 times 4 equals 8. You know what I mean? So now, teaching also involves modeling and practicing positive behaviors. You want to see. Promoting skills and preventing problems. So here's something else here. A lot of people feel as though that, and I can't say a lot, so I'm going to say some people that I've encountered are scared to push their child. Now, ain't nothing wrong with that. So let me tell you why it ain't nothing wrong with it. Because we're going to look up push. I'm going to look up push right things. And that if you know me, I look up down there everything. So push, this is the definition. This is coming from Merriam-Webster. To press against something with steady force in or as if in order to impel. To press forward and inject with energy against opposition. To exert one's continuously, vigorously, or atrociously to gain an end. Hold on. So we're going to go with the last one. To exert oneself continuously, vigorously to gain an end. Now, in parenting, this is something that you want to do. Now, you're not, well, let me use an example. Hold on. So, can you see me? So, you not see how, like, I'm pushing this chair? You're not doing that. I don't know if you can hear me or not. What you're doing is just like I said from the definition. To exert oneself continuously. That's what you're doing. You have to exert oneself continuously. That's the child. So your child may come in and say they're taking piano lessons. And they say, well, I can't, they can't get the basics down. I don't know nothing about piano. So they can't do the little whatever, the little bars or whatever like that there. And they want to give up. So you have to push your child so that they can continue and be more vigorous in that area to reach the goal. It's not the fact that you're going to damage their relationship. You ain't going to damage their relationship. Well, if you hear the sound of my voice right now, have you ever had a conflict with your child and, they might not agree with what you said, and then the next day they were like, Mom or Dad, can you do me a favor? It happened it's like clockwork. It happened every time. Because they know that you got their back. And they know that no matter what you need, you're going to look out for. That only happens if you're a good parent. Let me rephrase that. That happens more times likely if you're a good parent, because you can still be a bad parent and they'll still do the same thing. They just using you. That's all. So they just using you. So there's nothing wrong with pushing your child for greatness, because you're teaching them that they have to reach the end of the goal. You know what I mean? So all right, so now back to this the anger thing. So now the opportunity to establish meaningful, logical consequences when expectations are not met. You have to teach your kids, and this is one of the reasons why they may be mad. Because if you don't impose consequences as a parent to the child, then they're not going to know the seriousness of consequences. So they can feel like they can do anything. They punch their little brother in the mouth, or go beat their little cousin up, or steal from the corner store. And see, the authority outside of your house, they already know their job. It's your job as a parent to understand where your authority is coming from. So let's look at something else here. So I just use this as an example. Bad parenting or social injustice. See, your bad parenting can result in what may seem to be a social injustice. Now, here's why. If you didn't teach your kids about authority, and then they go out and say they steal from the store. I just seen this last week. This little girl stole something from the Wawa. They tried to stop her. The police did. Or the employees, inside the Wawa did. So she started a fight with the employees there. So obviously, she didn't have, I can't say obviously, but she didn't know the consequences of bad behavior, because she might not have had that at home. You know what I mean? And I don't care what you say. You can't say, well, I told my kid not to steal. I just told you teaching ain't telling, is teaching. Giving instruction ain't telling, is teaching, is what I meant to say. You see the little girls in the back? I don't just tell them something one time. Some of them is old enough to get it. Sometimes. But 9 times out of 10, I got to say it more than once. Because it's called teaching. You're not telling someone instruction. You're teaching them instruction. So if you don't teach your kids how to not do bad things, because it's going to be a bad consequence, then they go and get mad. They go to school and they the class clown, and then the teacher instructed some type of instill some type of punishment on them, and they're going to be mad. And then they're going to come home with an attitude. Now, it's their fault because of the action they did, but then you played a part too, because you didn't do your job as a parent to make sure that they knew it's going to be bad consequences for bad behavior. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad parent. So please don't get that. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Only you can really decide that. And the best way to decide if you're a good or bad parent is ask the people you applying your technique to, your parenting to. Text them and be like, hey, Billy, Joey, Sarah, whoever, do you think I'm a good parent? Now, whatever they say, you're going to have to analyze it. And you have to reply, or you don't necessarily have to reply, but you have to take it in positively. Because they're telling you something about how they feel. They that's how they feel. They being honest. You know what I mean? So, let's go to the next thing here. Sorry. So now, each time your teen acts inappropriately, remind yourself. I'm sorry. Where that's at? Oh, there it is. Remind yourself that there is meaning underlining their behavior. Ask yourself these two questions. What need is my teen trying to get me to meet right now? Because it may be an action. Like we said with the kid going in the kitchen. You can't say that I know you're not hungry because they went in the kitchen and opened their refrigerator. Not unless you assign them to refrigerator inventory, which they probably ain't going to do because they don't even clean their room. 9 times out of 10, they're hungry. So you got to address that need. What positive behavior do I need to teach and practice that can replace that misbehavior? Now, that's real good right there. Not only are you teaching the behavior you want your kid to follow, you have to do it. So if you walk in the room and you catch Pamela smoking, not only do you have to teach her, like I just said, not to smoke and the consequences of it, you can't smoke. So if you smoke and you telling her not to smoke, then she's going to look at you like you're a hypocrite and keep on smoking behind your back. Because you can't tell a child to do something that you're doing, not to do something that you're doing. You know what I mean? See, that it kind of works both ways. If you're a successful attorney and your child was seeing all these, the positive things that's happening in their life, they don't want for nothing, they live in a nice neighborhood, things like that, then they might want to be an attorney because they going to want that. If they see you smoking and you're enjoying it, then they going to probably want that too. So you can't tell them something not to do that you do. Remind yourself that the goal of guidance and discipline for skill building is to have your team learn something. So that's why you can't just tell them because I said so, because they're supposed to learn something behind it. And most times, another reason why teenagers get mad is because you tell them they can't do something. Now, don't get me wrong, you can explain it until you blue in the face. They still probably gonna get mad, but at least you did. And they're gonna respect you for it later on because they're gonna think about it. Hey, I can't stick my hand in the cookie jar because, I'm about to eat in 15 minutes. I don't want to mess up my dinner. They'll see that later on down the line. You know what I mean? Because when they get kids and their kids want to stick their hand in the cookie jar, that's the reason right there. Because they don't want to ruin their dinner. So the one thing about being a parent is that you always on spotlight, no matter what you do. And sometimes I can't even say sometimes women are better parents than men because I don't know every woman or man in the world. So that's harsh thing to say, but I could probably say from my experience, that's what I've seen. But you have to challenge your own parenting because you want to be good at it. And the parenting is going to coincide with your child's behavior in regards to, how they act, how they control their emotions, if they, how angry they get. And you can't have this attitude of whatever, because whatever means that you're not concerned with that situation. And trust me, they know that. So you can't do that. And don't start putting your child down. We're gonna go to this story right here. This is at Trauma Research Foundation as in regards to bad parenting or social injustice. Now, it says in a low income neighborhood in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a mother named Arlene is struggling to keep up with her rent and maintain a roof over her family's head. When her son Jafar goes to the kitchen because he's hungry, he says, "Don't be going in the kitchen because I know you're not hungry." Like I said, there's nowhere in the world that she would know that. On another occasion, she tells him to stay away from the kitchen because he's getting too fat. You should never say that. Now, too painful to mention, however, is that the cupboards of the cupboards are burdened, and there is no food left. So he may be hungry, because ain't no food in the house. Now, my mom used to say that to me. She would say, "Well, I know you ain't hungry, but you ain't know that." And, it might have been food in the refrigerator, but I ain't really want it. So I might be looking for something else. And, like the article said, the cupboards was burned. So it ain't no food in the house like that. I don't want to eat a can of green peas. Like, kids don't eat stuff like that on purpose. So you gotta know, you gotta have things in it. Now, if you're struggling, this way you gotta start doing the teaching and everything. You know what I mean? So your parenting is very essential in regards to, your kids' feelings. Now, apart from protecting the caregiver from feeling of inequity, this approach to parenting also aims to teach children to survive in a world where their needs will not always be met. So it was something I skipped right here. So let me read this here. So it was Karl Marx who first claimed that the central figure of political life are explained by existing economic structure of the community. Today, in the 21st century, when all the research done on how stressful environment disrupt normal brain psychology, it is well known that people living in economic poverty, are at a high risk for stress and immune systems related disorders such as high blood pressure, heart disease, so on and so forth. Whenever it is less frequent talked about is how the environment of economic poverty has its impact on culture and the interpersonal relationships between people within a family system and in the community at large. So what the writer in this article is saying is that, depending on where you live at, it could have some harsh consequences. If you live in poverty, it may be hard for you to provide for your kids the way you want to, and they may cause some consequences. The kids may be mad because they can't have push pops like little Joey next door, or they always eating beans every day or whatever like that. But the kid across the street, they mom cook different meals every day. That's why it's important as a parent for you to say, am I satisfied where I'm at? Because it's your job to provide for the family. Now, thank you, God. Now, a lot of ladies will say, well, I'm raising these kids by myself. Honey, women been raising kids by themselves since the dawn of slavery. So that's not even like a valid reason no more. I mean, it's a shame. But if they got through it, so can you. That's why you got to know your history. How can a single mom raise kids by herself? You know what I mean? So it's very possible. So don't use that as an excuse. So you have to do what you can do. You understand what I'm saying to you? To make sure that your family is well taken care of. So if that means getting a better job, going to school. Now here's something that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't get so many jobs that you're not home. Now a lot of people say, well, sometimes that's what the parent got to do, because it's hard out here and they trying to make it, make ends meet, and that's true. But while you at 3 or 4 jobs, who taking care of your kids? Because now all that stuff I said about parenting won't be applied because you hardly home. So you got to try to figure this out the best way possible. If you feel as though you need more than one job, then you might want to do a career change, opposed to working 2 CNA jobs. You working morning and night, because you're trying to, keep the lights on. Now, if you are CNA, you probably gonna have to struggle from what I'm about to say. You can go to school. Now, when you do this career change, make sure that it's going to be something that's going to be beneficial for your family. So you might want to, LPN or registered nurse or medical aid or whatever like that. But you have to make sure that you're going to produce enough income to take care of your family. So now, if you do decide to go to school, then you got to do a lot of planning. You got to do a budget. You got to set up parameters of like who going to raise my kids while I'm at school. You can do online school too because you're still in the house with the children. But if you do have to go to a building, make sure somebody responsible and you and that person's parenting technique matches. So don't just leave them with your mom because that's your mom. Because like I said, she might be a good person. That don't make her a good parent. Dad neither. Or auntie flow down the street. Because your kid's life depend on it. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to give you guys, I didn't even think it was going to be this long, but I just wanted to give you guys a couple nuggets in regards to, like I said, what to do when my teen is angry. And besides all that, from what I said, if you ain't hear nothing of all that, or if you don't agree with anything I said, don't give up. Don't give up. Because there's a reason why your teen is angry. You have to find out. Because like I said, they feelings is all over the place. As a teenager, they don't really know up from down, left from right. I mean, they may be academically sound, but that don't mean they figured out life. Just because they know how to split an atom in science class or they know the Pythagorean theorem in math class, that don't mean that they got life all figured out. It doesn't mean exactly what I said. So you can't give up. And there's tools out there, to better help with parenting. You got to get them. Either you talk to some parents that, there's good parents, you know that for a fact. There's books out there. You can do some web searches, accredited searches. I normally, if I do a web search I'm looking for research, the suffix has to be, the prefix, suffix has to be .org, .edu, because, 9 times most of the time they're accredited sources. .com, they're not always the credible sources. And please don't get your parenting techniques from social media. I mean, I know you're on social media now, but you can't trust everybody that's giving out parenting advice on social media, because sometimes they may be wrong. They have to be checked out first. So, if you see Mr. Jamal on there ranting about, how his kids don't listen, you got to know what type of parent Mr. Jamal is before you start trusting his parenting techniques. Same thing with me. Do I have good relationships with my kids? Am I doing the things that I'm telling you to do? I am doing that. Me and my kids have a good relationship. And on top of that, I wanted to make sure that the information that I give people is going to be reliable and valid. So, that's why I went to school to, get this degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in psychology. That don't really mean anything as far as the degree. I'm just worried about the knowledge. I just want to be knowledgeable to give you guys the correct information. So I ain't just telling you anything. So, I love y'all. As a parent, stick in there. It's gonna get rough, but you gotta stick in there. You know what I mean? Because even when your kids have kids, they still gonna need you. So, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. I love y'all. Hang in there. It's gonna get better. I mean, I ain't saying that it's bad now, but if it is bad, you gotta, stick to your guns. Try to develop good parenting skills and hang in there. Love y'all. Have a wonderful day.